Welcome back to another episode of Owning the Weight podcast. I'm your host, Jillian Tedesco, and joining me today are my beautiful co-hosts, Abby and Madie. On this podcast, we talk all things wellness, nutrition, and business. And for those of you who don't know, this podcast is sponsored by Fit Flavors. Fit Flavors is a local St. Louis-based company that makes and prepares healthy meals to go. So if you're ever looking for that convenient meal or nutrition, little edge you can have, check us out. We've got 6 locations here in town. We also do home deliveries. But today on the podcast, my co-hosts are going to be interviewing me on taking the shift from working in the business to working on the business. And so I'm going to be just kind of opening up to you guys today. So go ahead.
We're going to be interrogating Jillian.
Interrogation. So lighten everything.
Whose idea was this topic? It was Abby's.
More so because selfishly, again, Raymond is starting a business. So I'm taking notes of all of this.
Yeah.
So tell everyone a little bit about you.
Okay.
And why you started Fit Flavors.
Oh my gosh, I probably haven't talked about this on the podcast for a while. People have to go back to like years ago to listen to it. So my career started in the fitness industry. I did that for a decade. I loved fitness. I had this passion for changing physiques. But what I quickly found was that physiques change in the kitchen. They don't change in the gym. They do change in the gym, but you don't get the progress and the actual true results like you do when you're eating the right way. And I started to go down the wrong path with nutrition as I was more so in the bodybuilding scene and the severe dieting. And I thought that was healthy. And then I learned the hard way. And so kind of had to find my way back to what is actual wellness, what is nutrition, and really had this coming to bejesus like, Jillian, you don't actually understand nutrition. Like you love it. You love the idea of food and working with macronutrients, but do you actually really understand how it all works? And so kind of put myself through a little self-education above and beyond my certification. And that's really where I fell in love with the science of nutrition and how stuff actually works in the body. And then when I had my aha moment really around carbohydrates, that they weren't evil and that I could eat the damn potato, I was like, oh my gosh, if I could just apply this to my clients' meals, I could really help them and free them from this whole like diet culture and diet mindset that everybody has. And what I found was that when I felt like I was on this like all or nothing, it made me so unhappy and have so much anxiety and so much like stress around mealtime and self-shame around like when I would eat certain foods and like I would hide foods. And so going into this whole new like perspective of how to eat, my like true wellness and understanding of nutrition was eating more whole foods that are portion controlled and a balance of all the macronutrients. And so once I started to implement that and I started living this new like 80-20 lifestyle, allowing myself to still indulge because I didn't ever want to feel like I was ever on a diet. My biggest goal with everything through this walk was I want to never think about food again. Like in my mind, because I had obsessed about it. And so I was like, I'd love to get to the point where I never thought about what am I going to eat next. And so almost to the point where it was like, it was just on autopilot. And so getting there has really changed my life. And so kind of led me to start Fit Flavors. I mean, there's a little more to the story, but it's just such a like a need people have is that resource of the healthy meal being done and prepared and the convenience of it and that it tastes good and that it's enjoyable, that there was such like a niche for it in the market that wasn't tapped into yet. And like, it was never really my plan when I started to like start a business. It was really just to help my clients and really help myself. And what I found was more people needed it than I realized. And that's kind of how Fit Flavors kind of started organically.
What a story. Oh my gosh.
Can you tell people where it started and since you didn't start in a storefront?
Oh yeah. It started in my house. Yeah. It really started with me just kind of cooking for clients on the weekend. So I'd be making me and Jason's meals and then I just bought all this extra Tupperware and then trying to get all the Tupperware and the lids back the next week.
You get it back.
Yeah. And you know what was really crummy is like I'd make like a pasta with a marinara and people would give me back the Tupperware and it'd be
stained.
It'd be orange. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jason's like, Jillian, you gotta get rid of this Tupperware. Like, let's get some containers. And that's when I first got into like sourcing containers and so.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't imagine bringing a gross container back to
And
somebody
you know
that
what?
I need to cook
There
for me.
were a few people who had the audacity to just bring them back completely dirty. I'm serious.
You heard it here first.
Clean your containers.
It happened more than once with several people. And Jason's like, Jillian, just get containers. And so I was like, why am I doing that? I didn't think it was going to be anything. You just start,
Like, how many customers did you start with?
Week 1 was 4. I remember who they were too. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow. Are the customers that you had for week 1 still customers today?
So one is, 2 of them moved away, and I don't know about the third one. I haven't stayed in touch with her.
Okay. Interesting.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love it, especially when they follow your journey through all of it.
So you're in the kitchen making the meals. The business grows. You get a space to make the meals, and you're still in the business. Like, what inspired you to make the shift from working in the business to more so working on the business? So kind of going from business owner to more putting your CEO cap on.
I mean, that really didn't happen for many years, if I'm going to be honest. Like people think that happens. I remember hearing people say, well, you need to work on the business, not in the business. And I'm looking at them like, you ain't got a fucking business. You don't get it. That sounds nice to say, but there's a thing called margin, and I'm either going to pay someone to do it or I'm going to do it. And so you just have to be willing sometimes to just do the things other people aren't willing to do. And unfortunately, the way my business model is set up, until we were doing enough volume, could I afford certain things like marketing people or having multiple managers or someone to just do this one thing. So, dude, so many years. It's probably really the last, I would say 2020, 2019 is when I really started to really start thinking about, okay, maybe I need to be a CEO. I'd say 2020 was the first year.
Did you have an aha moment, or was it just kind of over time you've
well, I just knew so there was this point in the business where I'd grown so rapidly, opened 1, 2, 3, and then the bottom fell out. Didn't have processes in place, didn't have any type of training, didn't have a marketing strategy. So customers would come in and that would be it. We'd have no rewards program for them.
And you just hope that they'd come back.
Yeah, we didn't have any email segmentation set up to nurture them. There was nothing. And so you open 1, you open 2, you open 3, the new store thing, it's new in St. Louis. It kind of carries you for a while and then all of a sudden it doesn't.
But also what a testament to what a good product you have though.
True.
Because it was all word of mouth.
I know, I've heard Sid say that. She's you've had such organic growth, Jillian. You've really never dumped a ton of money into marketing.
Yeah.
You've grown by your product and the word of mouth. And it's well, what's happened if we actually put some money behind marketing?
Right.
You know? But so where was I? I was starting with, so then after the 3 years of rapid growth, I go from basically cooking out of my rental kitchen with some of my friends to having a multi-million-dollar business. We had about 45 employees. And I had Vincent, who was 1, and I had Sal breastfeeding, who was 6 months. And I just had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
And that's when I was I'm not qualified to run this business. I don't know what I'm doing. We just hit the gas and we hit the gas. So I just kept growing outside of the comfort zone until I realized my responsibility and my risk was so big. And then I didn't have grip on it. It didn't happen slow enough to where I could adjust. We just gassed. And then it was now you have to play catch up. So here I was with no training in place for my team. So culture was going awry. There was a lot of turnover. The food cost, we weren't properly food costing. We were just throwing things on the menu. We weren't pre-costing things out and balancing out our menu to the food cost. So prices weren't right. So from that, we decided we should partner and go into contract pricing with Cisco. Because once you go into a contract with a vendor, you get kickbacks and all those things. So there was margin there to gain. There was margin to gain with our labor plan and how we were scheduling people, training people. So there was all these things that were not created that had to create from nothing. There was no blueprint. No one was here's how you write processes for a production facility.
Right.
Specifically meal prep. Oh, and by the way, someone's got to manage all the inventory that goes to the store every day, how much food you cook. So that was me on a spreadsheet for 3 hours every night. So, because I didn't have anything automated or set up in any type of system, it was on the Google Drive. And so We manually put the food in every night.
Well, hold on. Before it was on the Google Drive.
Oh yeah.
How'd you do it?
Yeah.
You guys, when I tell you I didn't go to college, like I really struggled in the beginning. It used to be in a book, like
The book.
like
The Devil Wears Prada.
yeah, like they literally would write the inventory in the book and then drive it to my house at night when the store would close at 8:00. I live 2 minutes from the store. I would be at home. I'd be most likely breastfeeding Vincent, and then I would rock him to sleep, and I would be on my computer like running sales reports from the previous days and projecting what I thought we were going to sell, setting the cook numbers for the next day, driving it up to the kitchen, and then them doing a manual math problem. How much beef does that total? That's this much on the grill.
Hurts my brain.
Yeah,
Constant hustling.
So
Yeah.
it was stupid.
Dude.
It was working dumber. It wasn't working smarter. But
Right.
at the time, I didn't have resources or people around me that could help, nor could I pay for that. So I just did
Right.
the best that I could, and it was a lot of manual labor. Like I look back now and I laugh about it. But so when I started getting people in here who were more, let's say, versed in spreadsheets and math, and I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people work on the spreadsheet over the years.
Wow.
And now it's the point we have an engineer who runs it, and
That's
he's
great.
completely automated the sheet. I mean, I'm not even looking at it anymore. He might look at it every night, and he's like, I look at it, it takes me 3 minutes. I just make sure everything's okay. But like the automation and the business is so much bigger now. So it's like all automated. So just for it to be built, and that took years to come up with the concept too of like how we do our projections and what we look at and how we look at holidays and how we balance what meals and how, all the things. So like there's all those things that like you can't just give it up at the beginning because it just takes time. And so as I brought managers in, I was really leaning on other people to help grow the business. And so I'm still not operating as CEO then. Maybe I am, but I'm still in there doing the jobs. I'm still packaging food. I'm still working the storefront. I'm still delivering meals. I'm still acting as a manager. I'm still doing all those things. I'm not having strategic planning, goal setting stuff. I'm not doing that. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
That's year 3, 4, 5 is just getting out of the hole that I dug myself into. So as I start getting out of the hole, 16, 17, 18, half of 19, I start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, oh my God, we are not like losing money all the time now. Like every month it was just like, I didn't even pay myself really.
Yeah.
When we started, and like there was some times where like Jason would look at me and he's like, well, I could probably pay you this year like 40 grand, or like meaning like the business can afford to, or you can buy health insurance and pay for your employees' health insurance.
Wow.
That was at year 3. And I said, let's do that because it'll build a bigger, better business that people will want to come work at if they can have health insurance. So it was like, so I just waited it out. I was like, it'll be down the road somewhere. So like, it wasn't till 19 I could start seeing the light where like we started making some profitability, where then I started bringing on more managers and just smarter people to help. And then I started to step back and look at the business a little differently. We started having some more organization throughout, but I think that's when I hired my first consultant. But at that time, I was in a growth group too. So I was around other business owners. I joined that in 16, right when I had my mental breakdown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. I was like, I need to be around other people who know what they're doing because I sure as hell don't.
Right.
Huh. What differences have you noticed now as the CEO than you did while you were being the businesswoman? Like with yourself, how you're running the business, those kind of things.
I think just now, like when you have processes in place, that's the key to success, like with a business, because if your processes aren't written down and standards aren't put in place, how can anybody exemplify what you're trying to build? Everything was in my head when I started, and I was just running all day constantly. And then someone who'd worked with me long enough would know my expectations and they would run with me, but they didn't have it documented either. So it was like when we got our shit together and documented it and started training people on it and holding those standards, do we start to elevate other people in the business, and I could start to like let go in certain areas. That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So doing that, like what mindset shift like did you have to make whenever you made the transition?
So if I had to say, there's some people that are just really good with their hands and other people that are really good with their brain. Like I'm really good with my hands. Like I felt more strong being in it, doing the thing, talking to the customers, making the food. When I have to sit and write out how you do it, that's where I struggle. So maybe that could be part of the reason why I probably didn't have a lot of that, because it didn't come easy to me. So like working with people who could help me get those things documented and build that structure that we needed was so important. So I realized I was going to have to do those things. And so I put myself in situations where I had people who could help me do those things, whether it was my business mentor or managers. I mean, there would be people on the team where I could see, wow, this person's detail oriented. They can focus. They can get this out on paper, and I can't. So I would just talk to them, and they would create it for me. So it was like leaning on others, which was also great for the business because it was building people up for their strengths, which gave people confidence, you know. And at the business, when you're a small business, like it's a free for all. Like if you want to be successful, come and get yours, because if you want to get some, you're just going to help the whole business grow faster and everybody's going to win. But people are afraid to go after shit. People are afraid to say, I'll do that. I'll do that if it's outside their job description. Like, let me help, you know, like, and so we had people that were doing things and helping the business grow. And like that spreadsheet, I remember, in fact, the first rendition was really very basic, but the second rendition, the first rendition, you could take the inventory in the Google, like a Google sheet, and it would just, I could just type in the numbers and it would put totals in there. That's all the first sheet did.
Oh, okay.
The second sheet, we added projections. And I remember the girl who did this for us. She was 22 years old. She goes, I was a math major, a math tutor. She's like, I bet you I could help you with this spreadsheet and help you build it to where it could do projections for you. So we could take the sales reports that you run out of Shopify, we could put them in the system 3 weeks over each other, and then set an average, and then take your inventory, subtract it from that average to get your cook number. And she's like, I could build that for you. So it was very basic.
Yeah.
It's simple. Yeah. So she just,
but like, what a level up.
Right.
But it was a level up. So now I wasn't running separate reports in the point of sale and on this Google Drive. It was all in there. But we had to manually put the sales reports into it every week, you know? So it was like, there was other manual things, but now with 3 stores, it was easier. It was at least giving me a projection. So it was like, and that girl, it wasn't her responsibility. She was a smoothie bar manager.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go girl.
Yeah. That's how you get promotions.
But it was just like, you know, she put her arm out and was like, or neck out, I guess, her neck out, said, I'll do it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So how do you go about, like, let's say you're wanting to like level up, like leveling up back then and leveling up now. How do you go about learning the skills that you need to learn?
You have to find somebody to help you.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, if you're not going to go back to school or read, like someone's going to have to teach you it. Like so however you best learn. So like, I need someone to tell me directly, like be direct with me, tell me what I need. That helps. I also learned from like, reading it too. So like, I'll do a combination of both, whatever the skill is, I think I need. Like, I'm going to try to get it on multiple angles and surround myself with people that can help me understand that better. A lot of it is just understanding. You don't have understanding. Like, you do not have to become masters of all these new skills. You just have to understand it good enough to hire someone who can help you. But if you don't even get it, like, how are you going to have expectations or goals for that person? So like, it was just being able to understand it enough I could manage that person.
And then you've obviously had plenty of challenges going from a businesswoman to a CEO. What were some of those challenges that you've had? And during those transitions, how did you overcome them?
I mean, I'm thinking in the very beginning, like it just came down to time. Like when people would be like, you need to be working on your business. And I'm like, yeah, but I need to deliver food to the store so we can sell food. Like, you know, like they can't, what are you not going to go in when your driver doesn't show up?
Right. Sure.
Like, what are you going to do? Like, there were those things in the very beginning when I had such a small team that like, you can't just throw it on an associate who I didn't have training in place, or like there was nothing for them to do. So a lot of it continued to fall on me as I was building all of this. And because the business was so much bigger than with 3 locations, it was even more difficult because as I would run here, this would be needing me. So I'd run here, and it was like I was playing catch up for 3.5 years. So thinking ahead was hard. I was just being reactive for so long, catching up on all the things that I rushed through.
Would you like still consider yourself reactive, or do you consider yourself proactive now?
I'm both.
Okay.
I'm both, but I'm probably more proactive.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to always want to go forward, but like, what do you mean in like my thinking or my behaving? Like
Thinking. I would say more so thinking.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking forward. I'm always thinking forward, but that doesn't mean I don't have to deal with right now because this shit happened because we didn't do this, Y, and Z. Still has to get done and it might take my effort. Like now I have the liberty to say, I'm not doing this today. Somebody else is going to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to spend a whole day with my COO and we're working on strategy. Like I didn't do that before.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't do those things before. I didn't have the like freedom in my schedule to say no, and the team that was capable to go manage the rest of the people.
You were in the trenches.
And the operations. Yeah. So finding really capable, strong leaders is so important for your business because at the end of the day, you have to be able to manage people and daily operations to the standard that you want to keep. And, you know, if you can't let go, then you don't have the right people in the right seats.
Yeah. Let's talk more about that. So do you have any like tips for delegating tasks and creating a strong team, building a strong team?
Well, some people, it's easier for them to delegate than others. I'm one of those people. And I think this has to come down with how detail oriented you are. So if you're someone who's extremely detail oriented and you're big on conformity, things done a right way, and you want it specific, you may double, triple check your work. It's going to be harder for you to delegate because you don't think anybody can do it as good as you. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, fuck yeah, you got it? Great. Because you're probably going to do it a little bit better than me. And like, you're more of an expert. And I know you have 6 hours to work on this. I've got 2, and I'd probably mess some things up because I'm not as detail oriented and I don't want to do this thing. So like, I love delegating things out. The things I don't delegate are the things I want to do. Like I've even delegated out in the last year, the menu development, which is my true passion, but I have someone so capable who I trust and know and is willing and able, you know, whereas like I might not let go if I didn't feel like I could, you know? And, but I think did you say what is my advice for someone to delegate out?
To delegate tasks out and building a strong team.
Well, those are two separate things.
questions.
Yeah. So with delegation, first understand what type of person you are. If you're more of that detailed, like perfectionist, control freak, like this is going to be a learned skill for you. You're going to have to learn to trust people, and maybe people don't always get it to your standard. Find those really detail oriented people that you can. So like, I always like think of like a scale 1 to 10, how detail oriented people are. And if they're ahead of me, I give it to them. If they're not, I might not give it to them. I'm not very high. Like I'm very high on my things that I care about.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to miss any details on the things I care about. I'm going to follow up, but like on things where that's someone's full job, like you have to delegate it to them. That's all they do. Whereas like the leader has to be all over the place. You have to be able to delegate out. So you have to be able to let go of things. You can hold a couple things close to your chest, but understand those are your things that you're most likely going to be managing for the business. And like for me, the longest time, it was the full menu development, the inventory process, and then like the strategy of the business, you know, and now, and probably the brand, but like now I've given up menu development and the inventory process. I've got 2 very capable people, probably, I mean, who are doing it better than I was.
Yeah.
Period. Case closed.
What a good spot to be in.
Yeah, they are great.
So how do you balance strategic planning with the day-to-day operations of it?
You just have to schedule it. Like I know like if sometimes when we're in the weeds or we're in the thick of it, time will go by and like me and Sid will be like, oh my gosh, we haven't talked. We need to talk. So like we'll like sometimes leave and work off site just so we don't have distractions. But like last time we were off site, we scheduled 2 more off sites in the next coming weeks just so they're there as like placeholders. And so when we get 6 to 8 hours to crank, like we can just get a lot accomplished.
Yeah. Because you don't have like people.
Well, and it's just, it's easy when you're at work. One thing leads to another. There's always things that need to get done, but like it's prioritizing the future and the plans.
Let's talk about prioritizing. How do you prioritize things? Like what's your system of prioritizing?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, my prioritization list can change when new things come in because they might go above something. Some people prioritize with when did this hit my desk? And then things start to wait. Which person are you?
Yeah.
I prioritize by what I think is the most important. So Also too, like if you're a procrastinator, like you've got something important, but you don't want to do it. So you do the stupid little things because you get to cross off 6 on your task list, but you're not actually doing the one thing that like moves the needle.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's not good. So like with me, with prioritization, I'm always looking at like, what's going to impact the business the most? Where are we right now? Like, can I kick this can down the road, or is this need to happen? Can I delegate this out to somebody because it needs to happen, but I don't need to be the one to do this? Like, so it's like, it's just like a game constantly with my prioritization.
Have you ever like had moments in the business where you're like, where everything seems like a priority?
Sure. That means I don't have the right people.
Yeah. Like maybe in the beginning.
Because I'm delegating those things now. Like anytime something comes up, like me and Sid are talking and I'm like, like the phone situation came up the other day and I was like, dude, give this to Tori. Like she would be awesome at this. Like, and she did a great job, you know? And so it was something that Sid was doing and she just didn't get to it as fast as she wanted. And I could see it falling down on priority list, but it was important that we switched phones because we'd canceled our system. And so we offset and someone got it done in a week. It took the girl about a week to finish the project, but like, I was so happy she delegated it out. And normally I don't need to tell her to delegate, but I did, you know? So it's just realizing you have people on your team that are good at certain things and you can give them those projects. And people like projects. People want to help. They want to do something.
Yep.
Most of the engaged people do. When you give them a project, they're like, oh, excited. I get to do this.
They feel important.
Yeah. You know, so like I love it. I think it builds culture. It builds morale. It builds buy-in. So like I love delegating.
Delegating queen
over here.
I don't know about that. But
So what is one piece of advice that you wish you would have had that you can give to our listeners from going like to think like a CEO?
what would I give my listeners to help them start thinking like a CEO?
Or like
What's a challenge
piece
or an
of
exercise or a piece of advice?
What's a piece of advice that like you wish you would have gotten earlier on in your business maybe?
Okay, the faster you can set up processes in your business, the better, in your trainings, because once you have those in place, other people can manage them because they're on paper. They just do as the paper says. Everything was in my head before. So I would tell you, but then you would forget it and then make it your own and then tell somebody else. But once you get it on paper, I can say, here, Madie, go train them on this.
Yeah.
Boom, I can let go of that
like
thing.
telephone.
And then I could focus on the next thing. So like until you get your ducks in a row and you get all your organization and the behind the scenes organized, can you start to multiply and really grow? And then like building those core people on your team that they're all in is so important because you're going to have a few of them at your company. I mean, I hope you do. Like they get it, you know, and they're willing to go above and beyond. So it's like when you get those people, take care of those people, continue to give them opportunities, make sure that they're happy doing what they want and just continue to grow them. Those people are so important. When I came out of the hole in 2019 and started seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, went through 2020, the first year of COVID, and by then we had processes in place, good managers in place, and I had this like space. I started to have space, and that's when I decided to write the book because I was like, I can't believe I have this opportunity because I was spending hours a week at home writing and working with my editor. And I knew that was a very selfish thing to do because I wasn't working on the business, in the business. But I thought, you know, I'm going to write this book. And like, once I have a book, it's going to be something my team can read. It's going to be something the customers can read.
It's going to be a resource for everyone.
Yeah. There's just like, I understood and it was a milestone, not like something I was trying to check off, but like once I'd written a book, it just opened me up to so many more things. And when I could speak and I knew it was something that I wasn't sure if everybody at work was fully understanding, but I knew that in the future it was going to be so important that I did it. And so that's why I committed. So in 2021 is when I really put in the work to really write the book. And I'm really grateful I had that space to do that.
So are we. It's a great book.
Oh,
It's
thanks.
a great book.
Thanks.
If you guys want to check out Jillian's book, it's called Owning the Weight.
Yeah,
link below.
shameless plug. It has my story about fit flavors. But what's really cool is in the back is I share my 7-step framework. It's kind of like the things that I do anytime I want to make a lifestyle change. I don't always do them in that specific order, but those are the things that I like live by are those steps. And they've really helped me shift my mindset and be able to achieve something and own the full process and stick with it till the end. And so the book is really easy to read.
It is.
So easy.
It's like 120 pages.
Yeah.
I slammed it the day before I met her.
I laugh because I'm like, I wrote a book. And I'm like, it's only 125 pages. How do people write 400-page books? But it was like such a big accomplishment for me.
It's huge. It's awesome.
But you know what?
Proud.
I did it. I got it done. And it was a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
So anyways, thank you guys for tuning in today. I really hope you got some nuggets of information that you can use just to better your life. So catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.